Wine's been part of human civilization for over 10,000 years, with some of the earliest evidence being traced to modern-day Georgia and the oldest known winery being discovered in Armenia. Today, wine is more than an agricultural product. It's a cultural cornerstone and a major global industry that's valued over $515 billion in 2024. It shapes rural economics, international trade, tourism, and consumer markets worldwide. To understand where the wine industry is headed, we need a macroeconomic perspective, one that considers production, consumption, trade policy, demographics, and the growing impact of climate change and sustainability. These forces are rapidly reshaping how wine is grown, marketed, and enjoyed. This video also features insight from Mrs. Tari, a wine owner in France, illustrating how global shifts affect producers. The global wine industry faced unprecedented challenges in 2024. Total wine production fell to approximately 225.8 million hectoliters, the lowest in over 6 decades. Extreme weather such as droughts, heat waves, frosts, and storms across hemispheres reduced yield and increased diseases. Southern Hemisphere producers such as Chile faced 4 consecutive years of declining production due to persistent water scarcity and climate variability, while New Zealand rebounded from frost damage with its second largest harvest on record. Estimates suggest that there will be a modest recovery to about 232 million hectoliters in 2025, a 3% increase but still 7% below the 5-year average. Italy, the world's largest producer, is expected to rebound by 8% after favorable weather. On the other hand, France and Spain face ongoing drought and vineyard restructuring, with France's 2025 production projected as lowest since 1957. This variability highlights climate change's growing impact, demanding innovation, resilient varieties of grapes, and improved management to mitigate risks. Global wine consumption declined by 3.3% in 2024 to about 214.2 million hectoliters, the lowest since 1961. Markets such as Europe and North America show larger declines driven by aging baby boomers, lifestyle changes, and economic pressure. The US, the largest wine consumer, saw a 5.8% drop in consumption, while China's consumption plummeted by over 19% amid shifting domestic economic conditions and policy uncertainties. However, emerging markets continue to offer growth opportunities. The expansion of middle classes and urban populations in countries such as China and select regions within the United States, like Texas, have fueled the development of wine cultures. Consumer preferences in these markets are shifting towards lighter and lower alcohol wines, including rosés, sparkling varieties, and non- or low-alcoholic options. These trends align with a broader health and wellness movement sparked by social media, reflecting grower consumer interest in moderation and healthier lifestyles. Trade remains vital but faces uncertainty. In 2025, U.S. tariffs of 10 to 50% on imports from the EU and other key exporters threaten established flows. Models predict a 13% global contraction in wine exports, with the EU exports to the U.S. declining by 18%. Italy alone may lose $268 million in exports, a significant risk given its reliance on the U.S. market. Southern Hemisphere producers such as Australia and New Zealand may gain market share through trade diversion, but overall value is expected to drop substantially. For U.S. producers, tariffs increase costs of imported products such as glass bottles, corks, and labels, tightening margins amid difficult market conditions. Supply chain disruptions and administrative hurdles around tariffs may affect production schedules, especially during bottling peaks. Industry groups emphasize dialogue with policymakers to mitigate tariff impacts, noting disproportionate harm to domestic businesses and consumers. Demographic and economic shifts have resulted in substantial reshaping of the industry. As baby boomers age out of consumption, younger generations like millennials and Gen Z show very different drinking habits, favoring lower alcohol alternative beverages and experimental consumption. These younger generations also exhibit more health-conscious attitudes, contributing to the moderation movement and declines in overall alcohol consumption. Economic pressures, including inflation and cautious spending, lower volume and lower price tiers, while premiumization persists, with consumers willing to pay more for artisanal and sustainable wines. Competition from ready-to-drink cocktails, hard seltzers, and cannabis products further challenge the wine market share, especially among younger consumers. Digital transformation revolutionizes sales channels. The direct-to-consumer or DTC channel, which grew rapidly during COVID, saw significant declines in 2024. Mirroring broader softness, DTC remains critical, demanding innovation, marketing, technology, and consumer engagement to regain momentum. Climate change presents a substantial challenge, with increasing droughts, heat waves, frosts, and unpredictable weather stressing vineyards, reducing yields, and impacting grape quality. The industry is adopting sustainability and ESG principles for regenerative agriculture, renewable energy, water conservation, and carbon reduction to maintain market access and meet consumer demands. Technological advances like AI, data analytics, and precision viticulture help wineries optimize management and resource use. Industry leaders stress balancing innovation with preserving viticulture traditions as a key to future success. Starting in North America, the US remains the largest global wine consumer, but faces a demand correction marked by inventory overhang and shifting demographics. Volume declines hit lower price tiers while premium segments hold relative strength. Tasting room visitations and direct-to-consumer sales have softened, promoting industry calls for diversification and new consumer engagement strategies. South America, Argentina, and Chile. Moving south, the global wine industry continues to be shaped by significant regional and market dynamics. South America, a key player in the global wine supply chain, experienced notable fluctuations in recent years. Argentina, the leading wine producer in South America, saw a significant recovery in 2024 following challenging vintages, with production estimates at approximately 10.9 million hectoliters. However, this remains slightly below the 5-year average due to climatic stress, including droughts and heat waves. Chile, another major South American producer, faced 4 consecutive years of declining production, with its 2024 output dropping by over 15%, primarily attributed to persistent water scarcity and erratic weather patterns. These challenges underscore the vulnerability of South American viticulture to climate variability, promoting growers to explore adaptive strategies such as drought-resistant rootstock and more effective water management. Europe, Italy, France, Spain, and beyond. Crossing into Europe, the EU shows tentative production recovery, but remains below average due to climate change and vineyard restructuring. Southern and Central European countries vary widely in performance, with Italy rebounding and France still struggling with historic lows. Asia Pacific, Australia. Looking across the Pacific, Australia faces oversupply and price pressures despite some relief from tariff removals in China. Investments in research, sustainability, and market development aim to stabilize production and position the country for growth. However, bulk wine prices remain low and vineyard removals continue as growers adapt. Global transformation and market shifts. Taking a global view, the wine market is navigating an era of transformation. While total wine production and consumption have declined to levels not seen in decades, the sector remains a vital economic force, valued over $515 billion in 2024. International trade flows are increasingly influenced by geopolitical developments, including tariffs that threaten to reshape global supply chains. Despite these headwinds, emerging markets in Asia and select U.S. regions like Texas show promise, driven by expanding middle classes and evolving consumer preferences, favoring lighter, lower alcohol wines. The integration of sustainability practices and technological innovations such as AI-driven vineyard management and precision viniculture offers pathways to resilience and growth. The future of the global wine industry hinges on its capacity to adapt to climate change, demographic shifts, and shifting consumer values, fostering a balance between tradition and innovation across diverse markets worldwide. Focusing on emerging regions, Texas and China offer expansion potential and evolving consumer bases. These markets require industry adaptation to cultural taste preferences, policy landscapes, and the growing demand for authenticity and experience-driven wine consumption. Near-term outlook projects continued volume declines through 2025 and 2026, with a modest recovery in premium categories. Inventory normalization will likely extend into 2026 amid tariff uncertainty and geopolitical tensions. Longer-term challenges arise from demographic shifts and changing consumer patterns, with younger generations showing a lower affinity for wine. Opportunities lie in health-conscious, lower alcohol, and sustainable wines. Digital innovation, marketing evolution, and packaging diversification will be critical to meet these challenges and engage new consumers. Sustainability and climate adaptation will increasingly define competitive advantages requiring ongoing collaboration. I had the opportunity to interview Miss Tari, a French winemaker, to discuss how these changes and challenges in the wine industry has affected her and her winery. So to start, could you just talk about what region in France you're in and what are some of the products you produce?
Okay, I am in Provence. So Provence is in the southeast of France. Is between Aix and it's kind of that area, and also Saint-Tropez. And I produce still wine, white red.
You've been in the wine.
I have been in the industry since 1989.
And
1989.
What are some of the challenges you've seen in the industry and how have they changed over time?
I guess there are a few different challenges. Well, depending on the sector, I think one of the biggest challenges for a winemaker is selling the wine. I think that is probably. I think it's hard to do. Unless I'm saying specifically for a winemaker, because I think a winemaker is into the vineyard, into the wine, etc. But then having to sell the wine is a little different. It's a different thing. You have to deal with other people. People think of your wine, whereas when you're making, you're having your own vineyard, you kind of are working with what and do you feel, right, doing your passion. You're selling the wine. It's just at least me, and I think I've other people, so that marketing is the hard part. How that evolves, I think very to like how people are, what people are drinking, how much people are drinking, and then the winemaker has to adapt to, different styles of or different modes of society is doing for drinking. I mean, we used to produce a lot. Universally, there used to be a lot more produced because there was a lot more consumed. So winemakers have adapt to the decrease in also more wines. I don't want to say better. It's so easy to say they're better now, and I think you can say better. They're different because we're differently. I mean, in the past, a while ago, wines had less they were lower in alcohol. We would drink more. We were drinking more, and they were lighter wines. They were because we were just drinking. I think what's difficult is somebody's passionate and they make it, but then they have to sell it, and so they also have to adapt to what society is doing, society is drinking. Other things that they've had to adapt to, things like change laws for how you can treat or what products you're allowed to use to make wines. I don't such. I mean, it's always been evolving. Making wine for 2,000 years. And as we've evolved with the society, I mean, it's such a parallel society because you're not just for yourself, but also for other people to drink. So you have to make wine that other people are going to drink, and then you also have to. What he says you're allowed. There was a huge time when a lot of pressure came to be for example. That's hard to change to go from a non-organic to an organic vineyard. Economically, it's very interesting. I mean, one side of it is believing that what you should do. The other side of it is it's if you're selling organic wine, it is economically interesting. So that is probably a big change for winemakers.
The next 5 to 10 years specifically to be bigger wineries?
People are wanting more and more non-alcoholic wines. So I think that is something that people are going towards, and that they're trying to make good ones. For the moment, it's a little bit difficult. Obviously, wine without alcohol is a little bit difficult, and alcohol lobby. I think it's strong, funnily enough, in Europe than in the States. But I definitely something that is very strong. So I think, yeah, that's one of the future things, that to have to try with making alcoholic wine, and then also again here in Europe, more and more restrictions on products they can use to treat the vines.
And talking about how they're stronger alcohols, have you adapted or your winery to the and consumer trends for the younger generation?
Not alcoholic wise, because we've always made that were low in alcohol. I and my husband not appreciate high alcohol wines, so we've always made alcohol wines. So we have been for all this time completely not part of the option of high alcohol wine. So we didn't. We're not making low alcohol wines for the younger generation. We just.
And climate change affected wine production. Long-term changes in your?
No, in my experience, we have not. We have noticed. We've had a couple of like really hot summers, but it hasn't. I mean, when you're depending on the weather, there's always going to be times when the weather is weird, or we had like a whole spell where it was warmer in the winters, and so then the vines would sprout. They would in the spring come in, and then we have lower production. Then this year has been very similar to what it was 30 years ago. So we haven't really seen like a consistent, like I don't know, temperatures going up or something. And we've harvested in September for the past years. I mean, first year was the 1st of October, but since then we've always harvested in September. So I mean, whether either between the 5th and the 20th, and it hasn't really changed much.
And has international trade issues such as tariffs impacted your winery or industry as a whole?
I don't think so. I'm not really sure, but maybe for big wineries that are producing a huge volume. For winery, definitely not. But maybe for bigger wineries, something. But I think it's kind of parallel. I think that. I mean, maybe it's a little bit affected, but I don't think it's hugely affected.
Do you source your barrels and corks in France?
Yes, and corks also.
So what makes the region of wine unique, and how does that be changed in response to some of these changes?
Okay. Provence is unique to rosé, the best region in the world for rosé. I'm saying that. It's just everybody knows that. It's known. Provence, it's the region which has a lot of sunshine. Good for the grapes. I mean, unless you don't want it to be too much, but that's it's good for so I think one of the most unique is the sunshine, and then also Mediterranean climate. It is really good for rosé, and a little bit of a difficult topic just because some people say, "Oh, that's not real." I mean, obviously, it's not. Sometimes it's not real wine, and it has been because the region is really beautiful and because there's a lot of sunshine. Coming here, and having a nice time. The wine is experience, and so people do things together, and well also for that social
So, looking ahead, what gives you the most for the wine industry, and what concerns you the most?
what for the wine. It's been around for so long. It's stopped. I mean, even if we're going towards non wines, I don't think we're going to stop like wine. It's things in our society, in human beings, that I don't think that it's. I really would have. I really have a hard time. One day there'll be no more wine. So, concerns are the non-alcoholic lobbying that associates alcohol with wine. I mean, there is alcohol in wine. A glass of wine is drinking a glass. Can't compare the two. There's not there aren't the health benefits. There aren't the all of the culture and social implications that are around. Russian, but it's it's just so. I think is worrisome is when people separate alcohol and the negative effects of alcohol from wine. Saying, okay, are we talking about cocktails? Are we talking about grain alcohol? Are we, it's not the same thing as talking about wine.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the quick interview. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
The global wine industry stands at a pivotal juncture, navigating intertwined economic, environmental, and social challenges. Data reveals a sector grappling with production volatility, shifting consumer behaviors, trade disruptions, and sustainability improvements. Yet the industry's resilience shines through creativity, adaptation, and cooperation. Future success depends on embracing innovation, aligning with evolving consumer values, especially related to health and sustainability, and strategically navigating complex trade landscapes. Together, producers, distributors, policymakers, and consumers can sustain wine's rich heritage while building a vibrant, economically robust, and environmentally responsible future.